Now can we write a query that can find some more? Here's where instructors do not have a department. So we're going to get exactly the same data. It's coming from user 1, but now we're going to say that the user type, and there's lots of different types of users, that are instructors. So let's go ahead and use like. So user type is like, and put in parentheses a pattern. And the pattern that we want to use has to have an I in it. So it can have characters before, have an I, and characters after. Okay, so if it's an instructor, and we're only going to have one here, and let's see what we're testing, that they do not have a department. So, and department is null. That would mean they don't have a department. So let's see if there's any with that problem. Sure enough, there's a whole bunch that have that problem. So let's go ahead and save that. Now we want to find for any non-instructors that do have a department. So here we're going to use they're not like this. They don't have instructor anywhere, and department is not null. All right, let's test that and see if there are any of those. And sure enough, there's some that are not instructors but have departments. So we're finding lots of errors. All right, now we want to test any students that do not have a major. So now we're going to say a student, so we'll put an S in there, any version of the student, and major. So if the user type is like this, and major is null, that's the problem we're looking for right now. And sure enough, there's some of those. All right, now we're going to look for any non-students, so they would not be like this, so not like, and major is not null, so they are not a student, but they do have a major. And yep, there are some that have majors, but they're not students. All right, and then our last one is a query to check that all the users have at least one phone number. All right, and we're going to do this one by using a subquery that gets all the user IDs from the phone number table. So let's go ahead and write that. So we're going to select user ID, but this time we're going to do it from the phone number table. So let's do it from phone number, and we're not going to put anywhere. We want all of them. Okay, so that's the subquery, and we only need each user ID once, so we can use distinct here to get those list of user IDs, and let's just run it to see what we get. And look at that, we get lots. So there we get lots of IDs in there. And this is our subquery. All right, and what we're going to do is it's going to be a problem if they're not in here. So let's go ahead and put our parentheses around here and say, if they're not in here, it's a problem. And this then will become our where part. Where they're not in there becomes the problem. And what do we want to select? First name, last name, and user type. So we're going to get, that's mostly what we've been getting, except for the username and user type from user 1 where not in that phone number list. Let's see what we've got there. Oh, I forgot to put user ID. What's not in there? If the user ID is not in there. This is actually one of the errors I make pretty often. I forget to put that in there. The user ID is not in this result. And there you go. There's 14 users that don't have a phone number. Now notice that that primary key foreign key relationship doesn't enforce it in this direction. It only enforces that if you put a phone number record in, the user ID exists, but it doesn't do it the other way. So the scenario says every user has one or more phone numbers. So this is something that we can't, that the database management system is not validating for us. So here we did. We found lots of errors, things that are happening when we do manual inserts that make our data not match the scenario. So far we have used several built-in functions. So if we go up here and we see these new ones, we see that we've used substring and length and isNumeric. And the way these work is you use the function name followed by parentheses, and then inside the parentheses you put any arguments that the function requires. And then the function returns a value that you can use. Notice we just put a function call right where we needed that value, and we used a comparison on it. So you can use these function calls wherever it is that you might need that value. Now there are lots of these built-in ones. If we go to Student U Test and we go to Programmability, down here we have a whole section on functions, and inside there is a section called System Functions. And there's so many that they have them even in different folders. So let's look at the string functions and see if we can find substring. And sure enough, there it is the substring function. So lots of system functions that we can call and use.